Joining us now, former acting DHS Secretary and America First Policy Institute Homeland Security and Immigration Chair, Chad Wolf. Chad, great to see you. With Tom Homan declaring the mission is done in Minneapolis, what about the coddlers of criminals and the agitators and the resistance? Will that move and spread and follow our federal law enforcement and ICE wherever they may go? Because they don't believe in the rule of law. They believe in trying to keep these dangerous illegal aliens in this country.
Well, that's right. And it's likely going to follow into sanctuary cities, which is where you see the majority of this violent protesting and violent actions against ICE. You know, look, there in Minnesota, a surge is exactly what it's meant to be, a surge of resources for a limited amount of time. And as Tom Homan said, over 4,000 arrests have been made there in Minneapolis. I think that should give both the governor and the mayor some pause, that they had 4,000 individuals that had no right to be in the country in their community, that ICE had to come in and take custody of, largely without any assistance from local law enforcement. So, look, I think, you know, from an enforcement standpoint, the surge, you know, achieved its purpose. And just as they've done in Los Angeles and Chicago and elsewhere, you surge in and then you pull your resources back and you go to other places around the country that you have a large target list that ICE continuously maintains and goes after.
You know, Chad, there are millions of Minnesotans who weren't out in the streets protesting, but they actually were glad that ICE was in Minnesota taking care of these criminals. They didn't have the time to go out and blow whistles about it because they go to work every day. But their voices weren't heard. The governor didn't hear those voices. Now they're looking at this situation, and I think some of them feel like the thing that needed to be done is going away, Chad. Should those Minnesotans who don't have their voices heard view this as a victory, or are they legitimately right to view this as kind of a retreat that we should lament?
Well, look, if you are for immigration enforcement, enforcing the law, this is a victory. Obviously, ICE was able to come in and do an operation and take, again, 4,000 criminals off the street. Now, as ICE pulls back this surge, it doesn't mean that they vacate Minneapolis, right? There has always been a presence in Minneapolis and in the state of Minnesota of ICE agents and officers. Now, albeit a very, reduced number from the 3,000 that they had there. So that force will continue to stay there in Minneapolis, will continue to do operations there. But as we've said all along, ICE has very specific targets they go after. And there in Minnesota, in Minneapolis in particular, because the list was so large, because it's a sanctuary city, they had to surge in resources. And over a 2-month period, they've been able to arrest 4,000 folks. So that target list is smaller. And I think what Tom Homan is saying is that now that we have made these 4,000 arrests, we can pull our resources back down and still do the job with a smaller footprint.
I think Tim Walz kind of gave himself away that by hook or crook, they try to use these illegal aliens as a money grab. And the businesses got hurt because of the agitators and the resistance movement that was there. And they're trying to siphon money away from the federal government yet again for something that our law enforcement didn't have anything to do with. But I want to move on to this federal judge, and yes, his name is Boasberg.
Right.
He has ordered the return of Venezuelan men. These are accused gang members who were deported last year under the Alien Enemies Act. He has told the Trump administration to facilitate their return to the United States from a prison in El Salvador. It's astonishing, but how do you see it?
Well, it is astonishing. Obviously, these are illegal aliens. They continue to have no right to be in the United States. And so we now have a judge saying you have to bring them back to the United States. I think the good thing here is that the Justice Department and others have made it very clear that any one of these individuals that come back will be detained in immigration detention facilities. So they will not be released onto the streets of America to reoffend or to offend. And so I think that's the good news here. But look, this is just an ongoing case of lawfare against President Trump, who's had more judicial injunctions and rulings against him than basically any other president regarding immigration. So I think they're going to obviously have to continue to fight this. I think these individuals will eventually be deported back to their either home country or third country, Venezuela in this case. But the fact that they're coming back to the United States, I think the only silver lining here is that they will be detained in a detention facility and they will not be released back onto the American streets.
Chad Wolf, always good to see you. Thanks for your perspective tonight.